Wallace. This should be marked received and referred to the Public Works Committee. See motion M 23-563. We have a communication from Melinda Vasquez, Professional Design Group, 9021 through 9023 Olive Street. This should be marked received. Suggested hearing date is set for 1/4/24. We have a communication from Darren P. Lombard, Clerk of Criminal District Court and Chief Elections Officer. This should be marked received. On top of page 8, we have ordinance calendar number 34,480 by Councilmember Jeruso, zoning docket 5623. We have motion M 23-549 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. On top of page 9, we have motion M 23-550 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We have motion M 23-551 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. On top of page 10, we have resolution R 23-552 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We have resolution R 23-553 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We're on top of page 11. We have resolution R 23-554 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We have resolution R 23-555 by Council Members Morel, Moreno, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, Utility, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee and Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. Those are all the matters on the consent agenda.
We need a quorum to move adoption and to get a second of the consent agenda. Yeah, well, we can move in second and then get to the speakers, but we need it. Yeah. Unless you want to let Mr. Burnside, if it's not out of order procedurally, can he speak on the consent agenda before we have a quorum? Huh? Technically, we're gonna need a quorum, motion and a second, Mr. Burnside. The rules haven't changed all these years. This is what you call holiday meetings.
I'm going to make a motion to adopt the consent agenda. As soon as we get one more person, we'll take an official vote. We need to do, the public comment.
We have motion and second and four.
Hang on. I'm
We have
going to do
cards and
public
online
comment. Yep,
comments.
okay. Michael, come on up. Looks like you have,
Rules
Two.
depend on who is, who's in
Councilmember
charge.
Moreno moves, Councilmember Harris second.
hang on, we've got public comment real quick.
So,
Go ahead,
I got two comments, one of which is on number one, which is pretty standard, you know, we still got the Felicity Street, we still got the Magnolia Street, we still have the intersection, we still have a utility pole, and we still have lights on it, and it'll be there forever. I'll point out that we just spent $6 million. We spent it on number 12 for a consultant for $4 million, and we spent it on number 14 for a consultant for $2 million. So we got $6 million in consultants, but apparently we don't have any ability to actually move a actual traffic light, which I find too indicative of reality and somewhat frustrating, not to mention irritating if I let it, but there it is. We spent $6 million and we still can't move a traffic light. As far as the rest of it goes, I'll only mention number 11 very briefly. I am, of course, against the disallowment of dwellings above the ground floor. I think that's sufficient. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Burnside. All right, I've made a motion.
I have one online comment.
Oh, go ahead.
This is
Anita.
from Clifford Dugar. He said, this is regarding communications, consent number one, interstate lights between the flyover and the high rise going east, all almost non-existent, very dangerous. Not a problem in Slidell or Jefferson Parish. The same can be said for the Almanester overpass, non-existent. This should be a day and night matter only. They get results. Ridiculous.
Okay, thank you. I've moved. It's been seconded by the council president. All in favor, vote your machines, please. Got 6 yeas, no nays.
You know, there's nothing that prohibits a motion and a second being on the table before comment. Oh, okay. Okay, vote, yeah.
On page 12, legislative group and zoning docket 6523 has been deferred to January the 4th. And motion M23-571 has been withdrawn. On top of page 14, a legislative grouping, zoning docket 7223, Xavier University of Louisiana, requesting to amend Xavier University's institutional master plan to permit an increase in floor area and a waiver of the height limit for a new dormitory. The main campus is generally bounded by South Carrollton Avenue, Washington Avenue, Howard Avenue, Interstate 10, and Norman C. Francis Parkway. The proposed building address include 4701 Drexel Drive, 4700 Dixon Street, 953 South Clark Street, 960 South Genoy Street, located on square 699, lot Z2 in the first municipal district, bounded by Drexel Drive, Dixon Street, South Clark Street, South Genoy Street. The recommendation of the City Planning Commission being for approval, subject to one proviso. We have motion M23-568 by Councilmember Harris, approving and granting the applicant's request on zoning docket 7223, subject to the one proviso as set forth by the City Planning Commission.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This motion would grant the amendment to Xavier's institutional master plan to allow a dorm that is larger and higher than what is currently allowed by right. A dorm is actually allowed at this location. This amendment would just allow it to be larger. Can you brief us on the CPC report?
Yeah, I mean, you really said it all. In 2016, Xavier submitted and had approved an institutional master plan that contemplated a dorm here, just a little bit smaller in scale. In the last several years, as they've been able to move forward with the development, it's gotten a little bit larger and requires council approval. Planning Commission is in support, views this as being an important mechanism to help Xavier as an important institution continue to grow and serve the city and the educational community in general, and therefore recommends approval.
Thank you, Stephen. This project will actually come with a stormwater management plan, and Xavier is also building a parking garage that would relieve some of the parking that happens on the residential streets. And so this parking garage should alleviate this issue. Michael Burnside has submitted a card, as has Todd Granardo, who represents Xavier University.
Even though he's not here, I want to give a shout out to Councilman Green for teaching me the art of saying good things. So first of all, thank you to Xavier University because this is a good thing. I think dormitories are a really good thing for lots of reasons, one of which they build community inside the campus itself, another of which is they relieve housing and doubles the dorms and other irritations off campus. So it's a win-win, and to have a parking garage instead of a parking lot is a generous act. I think, given that we have a $14 billion levy system, we really should not have parking lots at all. I think we should have parking structures. And the only thing missing, of course, is some wonderful affordable housing on top of the actual garage structure. But I'm sure as, water retention and other things raise the liberal level of Xavier, someday they will reach out and do affordable housing for those of us old people who want to be on a campus and interact with young people in a mentor relationship to develop the youth of America.
I appreciate that Mr. Burnside and Xavier actually is doing outreach to the community, especially in the area of Gertstown where there is affordable housing. Todd?
Just very briefly, Todd Gennardo here on behalf of Xavier University. We want to thank the planning staff for working with the university on this project over a long period of time, and Councilmember Harris also for thank you for working with the university. As you've mentioned, the university has done a lot of outreach in the neighborhood to eliminate some of the concerns of the neighbors. This is a win-win for the neighborhood, for the university, and for the city. And we ask for your support. If you have any questions, of course, we're happy to answer those.
Any questions or comments? Any online comments? All right, so I've moved, Councilmember Jeruso seconded. All in favor? Thank you.
On top of page 15, we have a legislative grouping. Zoning docket 7423, Evelyn Freebird, requesting a zoning change from an HUMU, Historic Urban Neighborhood Mixed Use District, to an MU1, Medium Intensity Mixed Use District, district, a conditional use to permit a fast food restaurant with drive-through facilities and the rescission of ordinance 27,519 MCS zoning docket 4717 on square 495, lot 1 in the 7th Municipal District, bounded by South Carrollton Avenue, Oleander Street, Forsyth Street, and Dublin Street. Municipal address 3200 South Carrollton Avenue. The recommendation of the City Planning Commission being for approval, subject to 1 waiver and 5 provisos. We have motion M23 562 by Councilmember Jeruso, approving and granting the applicant's zoning change request on zoning docket 7423, subject to 1 waiver and 5 provisos contained within the City Planning Commission's report and 6 provisos as stated below. Number 6, the entrance to the drive-through facilities shall be located on Oleander Street with vehicular traffic exiting onto South Carrollton Avenue. And there is an amendment by Councilmember Jeruso. On number 1, on page 1, amend proviso 6 to the following. The entrance to the drive-through facility shall be located on South Carrollton Avenue with vehicular traffic exiting onto Oleander. That is the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll.
This is a new construction proposal for a Smoothie King on a vacant lot at the corner of Carrollton and Oleander, which of course is within that stretch of Carrollton that features Popeyes, Cane's, and another of other drive-throughs. The proposal here is for this to be a drive-through facility. The Planning Commission is generally in favor of it. After consulting with DPW, we recommended that traffic circulate in through Carrollton and out through Oleander just to reduce potential for collision at the Oleander intersection, and recommend approval of it with that design modification.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Members, this piece of land has been vacant since the old service station was demolished in 2018, and as city planning just pointed out, it is pardon upon sandwiched between other fast food chains, and there are other restaurants in the area. 6 nearby restaurants have drive-throughs. While this request technically creates a spot zone, which generally and philosophically I'm skeptical of, it matches the developmental trend of this area, and this property already has a commercial designation. As Mr. Kroll noted, what the amendment does is just change the drive-through on Carrollton and exit on Oleander after we consulted with Department of Public Works. So I'm gonna make I'll move on the amendment, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Six yeas, no nays. We have an online comment, Ms. Kern.
Yes, this is from Alex Bowen, who says, I'm the owner that will develop the land and agree with this.
All right, that's a shocker. I'm gonna move on the motion as amended, second by Councilmember Harris. I'm just joking, by the way. All right. Need one or two more. Six yeas, no nays. Thank you all very much.
No, amendment. Council members, we're now going to page 28. Ordinance calendar number 34,441 by council members Jeruso and Harris. An ordinance to amend and reordain Article 18, Section 18.2.z, purpose of the University Area Off-Street Parking Overlay District, and Section 18.30, University Area Off-Street Parking Overlay District of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance 4,264 MCS as amended by ordinance number 26,413 MCS and subsequent amendments. The intent of which is to require off-street vehicular parking for certain increases in the number of existing bedrooms and bathrooms. To expand the area of applicability to include additional neighborhoods, including parts of neighborhoods bounded by Front Street, Jefferson Avenue, South Claiborne Avenue, Taladana Street, Earhart Boulevard, and South Carrollton Avenue. Redefine bedroom to include a window or a door that opens to a space other than another sleeping room, bathroom, or toilet room, and require that every shared bedroom be at least 50 square feet for each occupant. Number 3, lower the threshold for off-street parking requirement for new construction or renovations from 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms to 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Number 4, redefine full bathroom to include a bathroom and or shower. Number 5, require new construction or renovation to include a common room, which cannot be a bedroom. Number 6, require that new parking spaces be a minimum of 8.5 feet wide by 18 feet long. 7, prohibit tandem parking. 8, recognize possible shared parking arrangements between adjacent lots. 9, prohibit the raising of structure to accommodate off-street parking for all properties located in the area generally bounded by Cecil Street to Monticello Avenue, Monticello Avenue to Leak Avenue, to River Drive, to Riverview Drive, to East Drive, to Chapatula Street. Turning south on State Street, turning east on Front Street, turning north on Nashville Avenue, turning east on Chapatulas, turning north on Jefferson Avenue, turning east on South Claiborne Avenue, turning north on Taladana Street, connecting to Washington Avenue, turning west on Earhart Boulevard, turning north on South Carrollton Avenue, turning west on Tulane Avenue, Airline Highway, connected to Palmetto Street, to Northline Street, to Monticello, to Cecil Street, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Zoning docket 4523.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is just the ordinance on the D2D overlay. I think we have one online comment. I've moved. Councilmember Harris is second.
Yes, this is from Susan Johnson, representing Town of Carrollton Watch. She says the amended ordinance says that one intent is to lower the threshold for the off-street parking requirements from 4 bedrooms per unit to 3 bedrooms. This is true in comparison to the overlay enacted on November 18th, 2021, which was supposed to allow just 3 bedrooms, but somehow ended up with 4. It is not true by comparison to the IZDs of 2020 and 2022, which allow for 0 expansion without additional off-street parking. ask the proverbial man on the street what he thinks today's legislation will do. Will it increase development or decrease it? Of course, this ordinance returns our neighborhoods to the developers. This Tuesday at the CPC, architect Zach Smith said that student housing was persecuted by rules and rules and rules. Then he said, luckily, I think the city hopefully will have some certainty soon with an overlay that's going to be adopted this Thursday at council. So Smith believes he is in luck. No more persecution. This is the same guy who makes his living on the expansion of commercial uses at Blue Oak Barbecue and Our Lady of Lourdes Church and many other projects around the city. Today's ordinance is regressive. It is a law that only a lawyer could love and the developers. Citizens have no confidence that their rights will be respected. They are quietly selling their homes and leaving. Whatever the actual intent of this ordinance and the overlay before it, the effect is clear. The exodus will continue. That's it for the online comment.
Yeah, just one brief comment before we finalize. I'm shocked by the comment because this was drafted wholesale with the neighbors who live right in this area. So with that, the vote is 6-0 approving. Thank you very much.
We're gonna go back to the regular order. Legislative Group and Zoning Docket 7523, Dana Payton requested a conditional use permit a childcare center lodge in an SRD suburban two-family residential district located Rosedale Square 17, Lot 10A and 7A in the 3rd Municipal District, bounded by Dale Street, America Street, Drew Avenue, and Prentice Avenue. Municipal address is 4629 Dale Street. The recommendation of the City Planning Commission being for approval, subject to 14 provisos and 3 waivers. We have motion M23-564 by Councilmember Thomas, granted the applicant's conditional use request on zoning docket number 7523, subject to 14 provisos and 3 waivers as stated in the City Planning Commission report.
We have one speaker, Mr. Nick Kendall, Agenda for Children. Mr. Kendall.
Hello, Council. My name is Nick Kindle. I'm the Director of Facility Expansion for Agenda for Children. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Dana Payton, who's the owner of Early STEM Learning Academy. So I just want to thank you, Councilmember Thomas, and your office for your support and to ask for all of Council's support on this. I'm just here to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
No, first of all, thank you for Agenda for Children being here to represent Ms. Payton. One of the things you guys know and we know about this area, it's really absent of a lot of opportunities for daycare and childcare. So I appreciate the fact that y'all are here to support. With that, I move adoption.
Thank you.
Moved. I'm trying to, I don't know if my machine is not working. Okay. Yeah, it's a conspiracy. It's the second time I come here and my machine's not working. I'm gonna find out which one of y'all it is. Moved by Councilmember Marino, second by Councilmember Harris. It's a conspiracy. Aye. Thank you.
Who moved?
Next,
Wait,
Councilmember Marino moved because I couldn't move because I've been removed.
all right.
And then Councilmember Harris second. It's a conspiracy, clerk. Where's the OIG when I need it?
Okay, council members, now we're going to page 33. We have ordinance calendar number 34,498 by council members Jeruso and Morel by request. An ordinance to authorize the mayor of the city of New Orleans to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the city of New Orleans and the Regional Planning Commission for a term of 5 years for the public purpose of coordinating the development of a balanced transportation system to ensure the city and the region's transportation needs are met in the city of New Orleans as more fully detailed in the cooperative endeavor agreement as Exhibit A and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I've moved for adoption, seconded by Councilmember Moreno. Five yeas, no.
Somebody else. Come next week.
Morel.
I'm sure it's not following you around. Yeah.
At the bottom of the page, we have ordinance calendar number 34,499 by council members Jeruso, Moreno, Green, and Thomas by request. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 29,265 MCS as amended, entitled on ordinance providing an operating budget of revenues for the city of New Orleans for the year 2023 to appropriate funds to the Department of Finance to pay Orleans Parish School Board for the ad valorem sales tax withheld in fiscal year 22 and 23, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption. Seconded by Councilmember King. Five yeas, no nays.
On top of page 34, we have ordinance calendar number 34,500 by council members Jeruso, Moreno, Green, and Thomas by request. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 29,266 MCS as amended, entitled an ordinance providing an operating budget of expenditures for the city of New Orleans for the year 2023 to appropriate funds to the Department of Finance to pay Orleans Parish School Board for the ad valorem and sales taxes withheld in fiscal years 2022 and 23, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is a companion ordinance. I move for approval.
Need a second.
Second by Councilmember Moreno.
All I can do is vote.
Five yeas, no nays.
At the bottom of the page, motion line over M 23-451 has been deferred to January 4th. We're now gonna go to page page 20. We have a legislative group in zoning docket 8323, you want Onion LLC, requesting a conditional use to permit a standard a disclaimer. Your motion is long, I'm not reading.
Madam Clerk, that's fine. If you just want to read the brief.
Yeah, okay. So zoning docket 8323, you want Onion LLC.
Become less of a pure coffee shop and more of a traditional restaurant, and this does that. It allows them to sell alcohol, but also the requirement that they are truly a bona fide restaurant that serves meals. I think that was a little bit of the concern coming from the neighbors, and so at the Plan Commission, there was support recommendation by staff, kind of tentative support from the neighbors, but conditioned on this good neighbor agreement being finalized. Obviously, that's taken care of, and so the Planning Commission recommended approval.
Thank you, Stephen. Andrew Stevens from Juncture Coffee, come on up. And the
I wish. Yeah, that is a clever LLC name by our landlords. But I'm Andrew on behalf of Junk Drawer Coffee. Thank the council for taking the time. Thank you to Woman Leslie's Harris's office for really working throughout this process, and for the Irish Channel and the Garden District Associations. We feel like we've come with them, the neighborhood associations, our landlord, and then with the District B office to come up with parameters to allow us to maintain the neighborhood and historical status of where we're located, but also allow us to expand our menu offerings to mitigate things like slow summers, and to just offer some more things requested by the neighbors. So here for any questions that y'all may need, and thank you for the time.
Any questions from any council members? Any comments? I've moved, Councilmember Jeruso seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wait, 6 yeas. Thank you, and remember to shop small.
We're now going to go to page 39. We have section 4-106 confirmation, Director, Department of Public Works. Consideration of a motion to approve or disapprove the mayor's appointment of Clinton Rick Hathaway as the Director of the Department of Public Works.
Yes, this, ladies and gentlemen. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the confirmation for the Director of Public Works that went through committee yesterday. The committee recommended unanimously to confirm Mr. Hathaway. Are there any cards? Okay, with that, I will move. Councilman Jeruso moves to adopt, second by Mr. King. Please vote your machines. 6 yeas, no nays. Mr. Hathaway is confirmed. Thank you.
We're now going to go to the bottom of page 36. We have motion M23-567 by Councilmember King by request. Motion stating in the imminent absence of a contractor to provide sanitation services to the French Quarter and the DDD during the city's busiest season, beginning with Christmas, New Year's Eve, the Sugar Bowl, Mardi Gras, and then French Quarter Festival is hereby declared an imminent threat to life and property in a public emergency.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any comments from the dais? Any online comments? Make a motion to adopt. Second by Councilmember Harris. Six yeas, no nays, motion adopted. Thank you.
We're now on top of page 37. We have motion M23-572 by Councilmember Harris, tabulating the votes cast in the election held on Saturday, November 18, 2023, Delaware State Security and Improvement District proposition. Votes for 258, votes against 157, total votes 315. Majority of the votes for 62.17%.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This motion simply confirms the votes cast in the election for the Delaware Security District. Are there any comments? I've moved. I need a second. Seconded by Council Vice President Moreno. Oh, Councilmember Thomas.
I'm just checking my machine to see what part of this works. And, you know, I've been blocked out of the other stuff, but some of it's working.
All right, it's adopted. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
At the bottom of the page, we have motion M23-573 by Councilmember Thomas, tabulating the votes cast in the election held on Saturday, November 18, 2023, Eastover Neighborhood Improvement and Security Proposition. Votes for 163, votes against 96, total votes 259. Majority of the votes 62.93%.
Yeah, I can only author. Someone has to move for me.
He moved.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So which one of y'all let me back in? You have, okay, moved by me, second by Councilmember Harris. And AI is in on a conspiracy too. 6 shades, no names, gonna stop it. Thank you, guys.
On top of page 35, on top of page 38. We have motion M 23-574 by Councilmember Jeruso, tabulating the votes cast in the election held on Saturday, November 18th, 2023, Mid-City Security District Proposition. Votes for 899, votes against 1,099, total votes $1,998. The majority 98, not dollars.
That's
The majority of votes against 55.1%.
We got you too used to saying budget ordinances. Move for approval. Seconded by Councilmember Moreno. 6 yeas, no nays.
At the bottom of the page, motion M 23-575 by Councilmember Green, adding Councilmember Thomas,
Add my name.
tabulating the votes cast in the election held on Saturday, November 18th, 2023, Lake Terrace Crime Prevention District Proposition. Votes for 235, votes against 61, total votes 296, majority of votes for 79.39%.
It says I've moved, even though I haven't. I've moved, second by Councilmember Jeruso, vote your machine. 5 yeas, no nays, 6 yeas, no nays. It's adopted, motion's adopted. So who's doing it?
On top of page 39, we have motion M 23-576 by Councilmember Harris, tabulating the votes cast in the election held on Saturday, November 18th, 2023, the Boulonnais Improvement District. Votes for 176, votes against 231, total votes 407, majority of the votes against 56.75%.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll move, seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. Six shays. Thank you.
We're now gonna go to page 32. We have ordinance calendar number 34,496 by Councilmember Thomas by request. An ordinance to authorize the mayor of the city of New Orleans to enter into a second amendment to the cooperative endeavor agreement to amend the cooperative endeavor agreement between the city of New Orleans and Arbor ENT LLC doing business as Equa Workforce Services relative to the contractor providing their temporary workforce solution during Mardi Gras 2024 by facilitating a job fair to identify and schedule workers to assist with the cleanup of Mardi Gras 2024 to increase the maximum aggregate amount of compensation payable by the city to the contractor, to extend the term of the agreement for an additional 1 year, and to modify or reaffirm certain terms and conditions as more fully set forth in the amendment Exhibit 1 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Moved by me, seconded by Councilmember Jeruso, vote your machines, please. 6 yeas, no nays, and calendar ordinance is adopted. Thank you.
At the bottom of the page, 34,497 has been deferred to January the 4th. We're now going to go to page 35. At the bottom of the page, we have motion M 23-560 by Councilmember Thomas by request, adding the president of the council as a signatory to the amendment to the bid contract between between the Department of Sanitation and Trucking Innovation LLC, and authorizing the president of the council to sign the amendment to bid contract between the Department of Sanitation and Trucking Innovations LLC. Council members, we need to suspend Rule 57.
Move to suspend Rule 57. Second by Councilmember Jeruso. Vote your machines. Six yeas, no nays, the rules are suspended, Madam Clerk.
Now you can vote on it to adopt it.
Move to adopt as amendment, and it also meets the 35% DBE requirement. Uh, Moved by me, second by Councilmember Harris. Vote your machines. Six yeas, no nays. Motion is adopted. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We're now going to go to the top of page 36. We have motion M 23-561 by Councilmember Thomas by request, adding the president of the council as a signatory to the amendment to the bid contract between the Department of Sanitation and MDL Enterprises LLC, and authorizing the president of the council to sign the amendment to bid contract between the Department of Sanitation and MDL Enterprises LLC. Council members, we
Move to suspend the rules.
Thank you.
Moved by me. Second by Councilmember Harris. Vote your machines on suspension of the rules. Six yeas, no nays, the rules are suspended. Move to adopt the motion. There you go. Moved by me, seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. Vote your machine. Six yeas, no nays, the motion is adopted.
We have motion M 23-563 by Councilmember Thomas by request, adding the president of the council as a signatory to the amendment to the bid contract between the Department of Sanitation and Ramelli Janitorial Services, Inc., and authorizing the president of the council to sign the amendment to bid contract between the Department of Sanitation and Ramelli Janitorial Services, Inc.
Do we need to, yes, let's suspend the rules again. I move to suspend Rule 57, seconded by Councilmember King. Vote your machines. We need Councilmember King. Yeah. 5 yeas, no nays, and the motion is adopted. Thank you, Council. Madam Clerk.
We need to vote on it now.
Moved by me, seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. Vote your machines. 5 yeas, no nays, and the motion is adopted. Thank you.
We're now going to page,
The bottom of page 32, we're not doing that, Madam Clerk?
we already adopted that.
Okay,
We're going to page. Going to page 31. We have ordinance calendar number 34,495 by Councilmember Thomas by request. An ordinance to authorize the mayor of the city of New Orleans to enter into amendment number 6 to a previously executed cooperative endeavor agreement between the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana Division of Administration, Office of Community Development. Collectively, the parties relative to the public purpose of assisting the guarantee as a part of the CDBG Disaster Recovery Program in recovery and rebuilding of the city of New Orleans from damage suffered by Hurricanes Katrina and or Rita, to modify the provisions thereof and extend the term thereof for an additional 3 months as more fully set forth in the amendment number 6 form as Exhibit 1, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
move. I think we have to move. My machine is on voting. The machines are going nuts. We need another. Okay, we can do voice. I move. Second by Councilmember Jeruso. Now we can vote on machine. That's the, ordinance for the extension for the Hurricane Katrina Rita, grants. 5 yeas, no nays, and the ordinance is adopted.
At the top of the page, we have ordinance calendar number 34,494 by Councilmember Harris by request. An ordinance to authorize the mayor of the city of New Orleans to enter into an amendment number 1 to a previously executed cooperative endeavor agreement between the city of New Orleans and Downtown Development District relative to the DDD, providing the city with funds to hire 2 staff persons who will provide city-based and authorized services to properties in the downtown area of New Orleans, to modify the provisions thereof and extend the term thereof for an additional 12 months as more fully set forth in the amendment number 1 form as Exhibit 1, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I've moved, Councilmember King seconded. 5 yeas, thank you.
We're now going to page 19, our legislative grouping, zoning docket 8023, city council motion M23-393, requesting an amendment to the text of the comprehensive zoning ordinance to impose a temporary prohibition against the effectiveness and enforcement of sections 21.8.C.16, 11, 2, 20.8.C.16, 11, II2, and 21.8.C.16, 15 of the comprehensive zoning ordinance, ordinance 4,264 MCS as amended by ordinance number 26,413 MCS as subsequent amendments, to the limited extent that these zoning provisions prohibit parklet that 1, commence operation on or after October 2020 as a result of pilot parklet program. 2, remain in operation as of August 12, 2022. The ordinance recommended herein shall constitute an other temporary prohibition on zoning and other similar functions within the ambient section 3-126 of the city charter. Beyond the temporary prohibition against enforcement, the institution of this temporary prohibition shall not give rise to any vested rights, nor create any legal non-conforming use, nor shall it permit the operation or establishment of a parklet that did not, 1, commence operation on or after October 2020 as a result of the pilot parklet program. 2, remain in operation as of August 12, 2022. The recommendation of the City Planning Commission being for approval. We have motion M23-569 by Councilmember King, approving and granting the applicant's request on zoning docket 8023.
Councilmember King, and council members, I need to recuse because my husband owns a parklet.
All right, CPC, the floor is yours.
Councilmember, this is a motion that would simply delay enforcement of new parklet regulations that were adopted in recent months. It allows existing parklets established under the pilot program, but which are not allowed under the new regulations, to gradually wind down their operations. This is totally appropriate. It's well within the legislative branch's power to determine when new laws should take effect. And the Planning Commission does not object to this. It also allows the Planning Commission to research potential new regulations, as you have requested that we do. And so the Planning Commission recommends approval, also recommending that this be in effect until March 1st, 2024.
All right, thank you. I make a motion to adopt. Second by Councilmember Jeruso. Five yeas, no nays, the motion is adopted.
A legislative grouping. We have zoning. We have zoning docket 7823, Centino Early Childhood Academy Two LLC, requesting a conditional use to permit a child care center large over 5,000 square feet in floor area in a SB1 suburban business district on Lot X, Section 24, Larat Tract in the third municipal district bounded by Morrison Road, Flossmoor Drive, Reed Boulevard, and Westgate Road. Municipal address is 10,100 Morrison Road. The recommendation of the City Planning Commission being for approval, subject to 4 provisos. We have,
Madam Clerk?
yes, sir.
No, we have one speaker.
Wait, I haven't,
Okay.
all right. We have motion M 23-565 by Councilmember Thomas, granting the applicant's conditional use request on zoning docket 7823, subject to 4 provisos as stated in the City Planning Commission report.
Our speaker is Mr. Nick Kimball for Agenda for Children. Mr. Kimball.
Hi, thank you. Nick Kendall with Agenda for Children. Councilmember Thomas, you are correct. New Orleans East is an area where our research has shown that there is a need for more early learning centers. So we're excited to have Ms. Centino be able to expand her facility. So thank you all for your support.
Yeah, and once again, I want to thank you, Agenda for Children, especially for helping highlight that when we talk about food deserts, well, there are childcare deserts in the city too. And with Dr. Centino and her family and her husband and what others are doing is they're looking at strategic spots to fill and provide quality daycare. So thank you, guys. It's a blessing. It's really a solution being answered. Thank you. Move adoption.
Thank you.
Moved by me, second by Councilmember Singh. King, vote your machines. Get King to sing. 6 yeas, no nays, and it's adopted.
We're now gonna go to page 23. We have a legislative grouping, zoning docket 8423, Airback Properties, Inc., requesting a conditional zoning change from an HURD2 Historic Urban Two-Family Residential District to an HUB1 Historic Urban Neighborhood Business District and a conditional use to permit a parking lot on square 459, lots 19 and 20, or lot 8, lots 18, 17, 16, 15C, 14, and square 460. Lot X in the 7th Municipal District bounded by Lower Line Street, Burdette Street, Cold-Pilsa Street, Big Street, and Pine Street. Municipal addresses 3,000 to 326 Lower Line Street, 7616 through 7718 Cola-Pissa Street, and 3,000 Pine Street. The recommendation of the City Planning Commission being for denial. We have motion M 23-557 by Councilmember Harris, overruling the City Planning Commission and granting the applicant's request on zoning docket 8423, subject to 7 provisos set forth by the City Planning Commission staff in its report dated November 16th, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This motion overrules CPC and allows the zoning change and parking lot conditional use that Dominican High School has requested. Stephen, can you brief us on the CPC report?
Thank you, council member. This is a proposal to rezone and then develop with parking lots, a series of properties in the block of Lower Line between Cola-Pisa and Fig Streets, immediately to the rear of Dominican High School. The zoning change is needed. It's a prerequisite to the ability to create the parking lot as a conditional use. The Planning Commission was opposed to the effort for 3 reasons. One is that the master plan basically allows commercial zoning only in properties where there's a history of commercial use. This was historically a residential block. And so the Planning Commission viewed the master plan as not being permissible, or the zoning change as not being permissible under the master plan. There were also concerns about a change to the aesthetic or character of the block, given the transition from residential to institutional. And then finally, concerns about stormwater impact from the increase in the additional paved surface. And so based off of those considerations, the Planning Commission recommends denial.
Thank you, Stephen. I rarely overrule the CPC, but I understand that Dominican will be implementing several stormwater management measures in order to mitigate the impact on the surrounding community. and that these parking lots will allow additional students and faculty to park on campus, relieving the strain on parking in and around the neighborhood. And it will allow for safer parking for those who will use the parking lots. Are there any comments from the dais? I have a comment card from Mr. Burnside and then one from Ms. McBride.
So basically, I'm not in favor of parking lots. I think that the $14.1 billion levy system makes the land here too expensive to be parking lots. If you want to build a parking structure, a place to put your cars, that's on you. If you want to put affordable housing on the top level of your parking structure, then I could even come on board with the idea of a parking structure, but a parking lot is a rude waste of land, quite frankly, from my point of view, particularly if it's already zoned HURD2, which is for residential housing, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnside. Ms. McBride.
Thank you, council members, for considering our application today. So as has been explained, what we're proposing here is a campus expansion project. We're going to create 65 additional parking spaces for students, faculty, and staff. This is an important feature for the school because the school hosts events such as performances, sporting events in the evening. And this is a critical way to provide safe parking for those events. In addition, this stretch of lower line has no catch basins. And so what we're going to be doing is building parking lots with stormwater mitigation well in excess of what's required by code, and will alleviate a lot of the street flooding issues in this area. And finally, we're pulling a lot of the school-related congestion off of neighborhood streets and into the parking lots, which I think a lot of the neighbors will appreciate. So thanks again for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ms. McBride. Mr.
Yeah, I
Jerusalem?
just want to say again, my daughter attends Dominican, but I see no conflict here because they get my money. I do not get money from them. So I just want to say that very clearly for the record before we vote.
All right.
Thank you.
I've moved. Councilmember King has seconded. Big shave, Ms. McBride, you are a well-trained stone pigment attorney. Thank you.
We're now on top of page 24, all matters. Zoning docket 8523 has been deferred to January 4th. Motion M23-558 has been deferred to January 4th. On page 25, all matters. Legislative group and street name change has been deferred to January 4th. Motion M23-566 has been deferred to January 4th. Ordinance calendar number 34,277 has been deferred to January 4th. On page 26, all matters, a legislative grouping. Ordinance calendar number 34,385 has been deferred to January 4th. Motion line over M23-426 has been deferred to January 4th. On top of page 27, all matters, motion line over M23-427 has been deferred to January 4th. Ordinance calendar number 34,393 has been deferred to January 4th. New Orleans Aviation Board to enter into a lease agreement at Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport with Chainsaw Chuck LLC and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Chuck,
Councilmember Green asked me to make these points. This ordinance approves a 5-year lease agreement for vacant property outside the main terminal of the airport. The leased property will be used for splitting and storage of firewood and working with local arborists to reduce wood waste in landfills. The base rent is an annual amount of $5,400 pursuant to a recent appraisal for fair market value.
Chainsaw Chuck.
I've moved for approval. Hopefully, I'm just,
I
no.
wish I could second that one.
Members, please vote your machines. 6 yeas, no nays.
We have ordinance calendar number 34,488, by Councilmember Harris. An ordinance to amend and reordain Article 12 of Chapter 146 of the Code of the City of New Orleans in its entirety to provide relative to street renaming and to replace the temporary honorary street dedication provisions of the code with a simplified procedure for the dedication of honorary intersections and otherwise to provide respect thereto.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This ordinance reworks our current honorary street renaming system. The current system requires members of the public to fill out an application, pay a $450 application fee, plus the cost of signage, and after DPW reviews the request, it then comes to council for approval. This would allow members of the public to come directly to the council without paying a fee. It would also dedicate intersections to the person being honored, not blocks of streets. So this should make it more clear for the pedestrians, drivers, and those in emergency vehicles to read and understand the signage. Additionally, this would remove the 10-year limit on honorary street renamings. That means that if someone has contributed so much to the city that they deserve this honor, it's not something that has to be revisited 10 years later. I want to thank Adam Slenzik for his work on this. It's my hope that this will streamline the process for the public. Adam and my office have met with representatives of DPW and the administration, and they've made it clear that if any of their concerns come to fruition, we're more than happy to come back to this and make adjustments. Additionally, Adam is going to work on streamlining motion language for these requests to ensure DPW has plenty of time to install the signs so that they are sent to safety and permits, and so they can create a case in one stop. Is there any online or public comment? I'll move. Seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. 5 yeas. Thank y'all.
It became 6. We have a legislative grouping. Ordinance calendar number 34,489 by Councilmember Morrell. An ordinance to ordain section 2-8.2 of the Code of the City of New Orleans to require provisions relative to the council in certain contracts for legal services and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This simply provides some language to clarify that when people are retained for legal services for the city of New Orleans, they have certain ethical responsibilities, the city council, as well as the executive branch of government. I will move.
Councilmember, before you move, you have an amendment to this ordinance. It's on the next page. Amendment to ordinance calendar number 34,489 by Councilmember Morrell. On page 2, after line 20, insert the following.
Thank you.
C, in addition to any other legally required authorization, no waiver of a conflict of interest involving any contract governed by subsection A shall become effective unless approved by the resolution of the council. That is the amendment.
I apologize. That is one of those Jeruso clean up the ordinance amendments. I will move to adopt the amendment. Second by Councilman Jeruso. All in favor?
You know, that's your.
5 yeas,
One
nay.
day, that's right.
6 yeas, no nays. It's always cleaning my stuff up.
It's 6 years, sir.
6 yeas.
Now the ordinance.
Ordinance is amended.
The hackers.
I will move when it comes up.
Not sure the people voting, I'm still here.
Second by Councilman Jeruso. Please vote your machines.
So when's your,
6 yeas, no nays. It is adopted as amended.
At the bottom of the page, ordinance calendar number 34,491 has been deferred to January the 4th. We're now.
Northern Arizona. Utah. Northern New Mexico.
We now have resolution R 23-548 by council members Moreno, Morrell, Jeruso, Harris, King, Green, and Thomas, approving the following list representing the organization selected to receive grant funds and the amount awarded to each, subject to the organization's eligibility. District E, Oliver M. Thomas Jr., New Orleans Recreation Development Commission, NORDAC, $5,000. Help Other People Endure, Inc., $1,000. Total grant funds, $6,000. We need to suspend the rules to receive this, resolution.
It's been moved by, Councilmember Thomas, seconded by Councilmember Jeruso.
Now we need to, add it to the agenda.
It is Candace. Okay. Yeah, nobody told me about that. It's been moved by Councilmember Thomas, seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. Six yeas, no nays.
And now we need to vote on it.
I'll move, and it's been seconded by Councilmember Thomas. Or Councilmember King. Six yeas, no nays.
Council members? We need to suspend the rules to go to ordinances on first reading.
Yay, yes. I'll make a motion. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so excited. Seconded by Councilmember.
Vice President, second by the president. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5 yeas, no nays. 6 yeas, no nays. We're on first read.
Oh, my God.
Ordinance on first reading, ordinance calendar number 34,501 by Councilmember Jeruso. An ordinance to establish a conditional use to permit a gas station in an HUB1 Historic Urban Neighborhood Business District and an HUC Historic Urban Corridor Use Restriction Overlay District on square 181 lots 1 through 4 or 1 through 3 in an undesignated lot and lot 25 or lots 25 and 26 in a 7 municipal district bounded by South Carrollton Avenue, Willow Street, Dublin Street, and Jeanette Street, municipal address 1400 South Carrollton Avenue, and otherwise to provide respects thereto, zoning docket 7323. Ordinance calendar number 34,502 by Councilmember Harris, an ordinance to establish a conditional use permit, establish multifamily dwellings in an HURD2 historical urban two-family residential district in the EC 16 Ferret Street, LaSalle Street, Louisiana Avenue, Simon Bolivar Avenue, Enhanced Corridor Sub-District on square 556, lots 23 and 24, or the rear portions of lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and part of lot 23 and lot 24 in the 6th municipal district bounded by South Liberty Street, Louisiana Avenue, Delachase Street, and LaSalle Street, municipal address 3417 through 3423 South Liberty Street, and otherwise to provide respect thereto, zoning docket 7723. Ordinance calendar 34,503 by Councilmember Jeruso, an ordinance to establish a conditional use to permit a wireless telecommunication antennas facilities and tower exceeding 65 feet in height in the C1 General Commercial District on a portion of Lot A on square 523 in the 7 municipal district bounded by Airline Highway, Edenburn Street, Live Oak Street, municipal address 9375 Airline Highway, and otherwise to provide respects thereto, zoning docket number 7923. Ordinance calendar 34,504 by Councilmember Jeruso, an ordinance to establish a conditional use to permit a bed and breakfast in an HUMU Historic Urban Neighborhood Mixed Use District on square 760, a portion of Lot 18, Lot 19, and Lot Part C in First Municipal District bounded by South Carrollton Avenue, Boudin Street, DeHammond Court Street, and South Pierce Street, municipal address 4320 through 4322 South Carrollton Avenue, and otherwise to provide respects thereto, zoning docket 8123. Ordinance calendar 34,505 by Councilmember Jeruso, an ordinance to rename 11 blocks of Kenilworth Street on the south side of Interstate 610 between an unnamed alley located between Cornell Boulevard and Vicksburg Street on the west and Orleans Avenue on the east as Firefighter Way, and otherwise to provide respects thereto.
Ordinance calendar number 34,506 by Councilmember Moreno, an ordinance to amend and reordain section 114-49 of the City Code of New Orleans, Louisiana, to adjust two of the administrative requirements imposed by the New Orleans Collective Bargaining Article in chapter 114 of the code to ensure that exclusively bargaining agents will be accurately informed of new covered employees hired by the city bargaining units and be able to present a newly hired covered employees without overburdening the city employees who are engaged in hiring and onboarding new employees and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,507 by Councilmember Moreno, an ordinance to ordain section 2-8.3 of the City Code of New Orleans to require provisions in the city contracts relative to cooperation with the city, with the Office of Inspector General and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,508 by Councilmember Moreno, an ordinance to amend and reordain section 2-692 of the City of New Orleans, the Code of the City of New Orleans, to require additional information regarding outside business activities and otherwise to provide respects thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,509 by Councilmember Moreno, an ordinance to ordain section 70-11 of the Code of the City of New Orleans to require certain disclosures and prohibit certain activities in connection with the city procurements and otherwise to provide respects thereto. Right. Ordinance calendar 34,510 by Councilmember Harris by request, an ordinance to authorize the New Orleans Building Corporation to execute and deliver the lease agreement substantially in accordance with the document attached here to as Exhibit A. The Piazza parking lease pursuant with the NOBC will lease the surface parking lot located at or near the Piazza de Italia in New Orleans, Louisiana, as more particularly described in the lease. The last Parking Louisiana LLC for leases operation of the surface parking lots and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,511 by Councilmember Harris by request. An ordinance to authorize New Orleans Building Corporation to execute and deliver the lease agreement substantially in accordance with the document attached here to as Exhibit A. UPT/US 90 parking lease pursuant to which NOBC will lease the following service parking lots located in New Orleans, Louisiana to Last Parking Louisiana LLC for leases operation of the surface parking lots located at 1001 Loyola Avenue, 2000 Loyola Avenue, 1100 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, 1074 Verone Street, 1100 Carondelet Street, 1001 Loyola Avenue, and otherwise to provide respects thereto. Ordinance calendar number 34,512 by Councilmember Jeruso, an ordinance to temporarily prohibit the possession and consumption of alcohol beverages in the public area bounded by Esplanade Avenue, Grand Route St. John Street, and Mystery Street, and otherwise to provide respects thereto. Ordinance calendar number 34,513 by Council Members Green and Jeruso by request. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 29,265 MCS as amended entitled an ordinance providing an operating budget of revenues for the City of New Orleans for the year 2023 to appropriate funds to Mosquito Control Board to purchase a warehouse located at 5700 Haynes Boulevard to use for office space and to store pesticides and otherwise to respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,514 by Council Members Green and Jeruso by request. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 29,266 MCS as amended entitled an ordinance providing an operating budget of expenditures for the City of New Orleans for the year 2023 to appropriate funds to Mosquito Control Board to purchase a warehouse located at 5700 Haynes Boulevard to use for office space and to store pesticides and otherwise to provide respects thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,515 by Council Members Jeruso, King, and Harris by request. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 29,270 MCS, which approved the New Orleans Tourism and Cultural Fund proposed budget for 2023 to reflect the NOTCF updated budget for revenues and expenditures for 2023 and provide otherwise with respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,516 by Council Members Jeruso, Moreno, Green, and Thomas by request. An ordinance to amend and reordain ordinance number 29,272 MCS entitled an ordinance providing a capital budget for the year 2023 in accordance with the provisions of sections 3-117 and 4-201 2061F of the Homeroom Charter of the City of New Orleans and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,517 by council members King, Thomas, and Harris by request. An ordinance to authorize the mayor of the City of New Orleans to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of New Orleans and the Louisiana Department of Transportation for a term no more than 10 years for the public purpose of transferring ownership of State Route LA 47 known in parts of Paris Road and Haynes Boulevard for its intersection with the Interstate 10 North Service Road to its intersection with Diamond Road and a portion of State Route Louisiana 428 known in parts as Nunez Street and Barrett Street from the Jefferson Parish line to the intersection with Lamarck Street from the state of Louisiana to the City of New Orleans as more fully detailed in the cooperative endeavor agreement form attached here to as Exhibit A and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Ordinance calendar 34,518 by Councilmember Harris, an ordinance to establish a conditional use to permit a standard restaurant in the HUB1 Historic Urban Neighborhood Business District and the Magazine Street Use Restriction Overlay District located on square 216, lots 21 and 22 in the 6th Municipal District bounded by Toledano Street, Magazine Street, Constant Street, and Louisiana Avenue, municipal address 1042 Toledano, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Zoning docket 8323. This concludes ordinance on first reading.
Those are all the ordinances on first reading. Thank you, Madam Clerk. It's been moved and seconded. Two more votes.
Thank you.
Good meeting.